It has come to this, boys and girls, the day that will live in infamy where yours truly, JB, was wrong about something and now has to pay the price. Because I picked LSU to beat Alabama, Manny and I made a wager and said whoever lost had to come into this completely ridiculous and dignified costume for the next episode. Well, the time has come. The Piper came calling, and I will break down just why I had to wear this ridiculous costume. Boys and girls, this is your Friday Junior edition of Box Scores and Bourbon.
Look at the box scores.
Box scores
and bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
baseball, box scores,
football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box scores and bourbon.
Look at the box scores.
box scores,
And bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
baseball, box scores,
Football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box scores and bourbon.
All right. Welcome back, JB. I got to tell you, that is a pretty good look for you right now. Love it. Love what is going on our episode today. Well, let's start on the right page. Cheers, everyone. Cheers to
Cheers.
another great episode.
To the team that already let me down.
All right. So, JB, I'm pretty sure our wager came after the episode had been finalized, but why don't you give a little bit of a breakdown of what happened over the weekend since the last episode?
So, LSU, of course, fired Brian Kelly. They fired Joe Sloan. Good riddance. Good luck. Get out of here. And at a bye week, we figured, college football is a sport where the impossible happens. Miracles take place on the field all the time, whether it's the band on the field, whether it's there's 1 second left on the clock. And I figured, hey, this would be a great time for LSU, who still has all the talent in the world, except on the offensive line, to be able to pull an upset over Alabama in Tuscaloosa and solidify themselves as yet again one of the premier schools in the country.
And
alas, that did not happen.
So what happened? What happened? What happened?
LSU, I'm just going to start from the top and just give the one thing that every LSU fan should be thankful for, and that's Blake Baker. Thank God for Blake Baker. The state of Louisiana should go, and Jeff Landry should go ahead and start their own currency and print. And Blake Baker, we trust, because without him, this game is an unmitigated disaster. And because of him, LSU had every opportunity to win this football game. You are not going to win a football game if you are inside your opponent's 30-yard line multiple times, and you end up with only 2 field goals.
Yeah, that's rough.
You are not going to beat Alabama when you're in the red zone twice and you do not target your greatest red zone threat in Trey Green, not even once. This LSU offense, it's almost as if there's a force field around the red zone and they cannot penetrate it. They just can't. And I wish it was more easily penetrable than the package I had to tear out this nose and these glasses. But it seems like it is near improbable for them to score once they get there because they just don't know how. And I don't know what Alex Atkins was doing up there, the interim OC. I don't know why he was calling these plays. I don't know why he kept going back to the run game. I mean, outside of Harlem Berry, there really was no run game whatsoever. Alabama stuffed it every time. And not mainly because of Alabama's stout defensive line, but because of my second point, which is this LSU O line is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
It is, without a doubt, the hardest thing to watch than me walking in on my parents 3 times. It's absolutely something I wish I could just wipe away from memory and never having had seen it. Wearing this is a lot easier than having watched what I watched on Saturday night. It was beyond bad. There are no words other than scheme and fundamentals as to why LSU screwed the pooch. And
Yeah.
for all the people out there saying Garrett Nussmeier is the reason we lost, Garrett Nussmeier didn't help things, but he's not the reason we lost. There's a reason why last year Garrett Nussmeier had 8 games, eight games of 300 passing yards or more, and why this year he has zero,
Um,
zilch, nada. He has got no 300-yard passing games this year. Now, to his discredit, one of the great, truths about life and reality are death, taxes, and Garrett Nussmeier having no idea where the play clock is. So, and having to call timeouts every single time, and then running inexcusably, running into a D lineman that his D lineman actually was able to stop just enough before getting to him, and he decides to pivot into him. I don't. And Michael Van Buren did the same thing in the second half. I don't understand what that is. Van Buren allegedly just lost his footing, hit his feet underneath him. But the fact that he ran that direction makes zero sense. But LSU lost because they have no offensive line play. They have no feel for what to do when you get to the red zone. And without this defense, this would have been a complete and utter massacre.
Worse. It would have been worse than what it was. The final score was 20-9. And I was looking at the stats just to kind of recap how things looked on paper. So, rushing wise, it wasn't crazy. The disparity wasn't too crazy. LSU got 59 yards compared to Alabama's 56. So, it was not a rushing game at all. Even you can say that their passing game wasn't too. I mean, they threw for 100 yards more than LSU. Alabama threw 288, and LSU threw 173. But you're talking about the LSU offensive line and the struggle that they're having offensively. And the one statistic that is standing out to me from that game is the penalty disparity. Alabama got 2 penalties for 25 yards. LSU got 10 penalties for 74 yards. And I don't have the statistics in front of me as far as who got the penalties, but if I was to go look at exactly what got the penalties, I would bet you most of those came from the offensive line and holds.
They did. I think 8 or 9 of them came from the O-line.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And they got this true freshman at left tackle Curve, and I know they have high hopes for him. They say he's got talent out of this world. He's going to be a great left tackle, but my goodness. I think he accounted for 4 of the penalties.
That's rough. That's definitely a tell of how your offense is doing, especially your offensive line. If you're getting penalized against a good team, it usually tells whoever is watching that game that your offensive line is being manhandled and overpowered. Because when you are getting called for holding, is usually because the defender beats you at the line or they're getting around you, and that's one is discipline. Sure, like there's certain things that discipline. Maybe they played sloppy football. But secondly, it's more a lot of the skill. When really good defensive ends don't get sacks, they usually make up for it by getting calls on like holds because they're just overpowering that offensive lineman. So for them to have gotten 10 penalties for 74 yards, that alone kind of tells you the type of game that was. It doesn't seem like it was, even the score you could say wasn't a crazy score. 20-9 is not an outrageous like getting blown out of the water. But looking at just the penalties, kind of tells you that Alabama was dominating that game at the offensive in the trenches completely. There was no two penalties on the Alabama side is kind of impressive on their side, but getting 10 penalties, 74 yards in a game, that is you very rarely can win a game when you get 10 penalties called against your team.
Yeah, no, and that's what that's I mean, and that's what stalled a lot of drives. Like half of those penalties came in the midst of really, really great plays by LSU. There were
Yeah.
some big yardage plays that were taken back because there was just no discipline. There's no fundamentals
Yep.
on that offensive line, and it was just really, really, really hard to watch. And even in the
Yeah.
second half, when Van Buren came in, there's a lot of hopeful from, there's a lot of hope from the LSU fans, but nothing materialized. Nothing.
Yeah, that's rough. I don't know where Alabama. Oh, not excuse me, not Alabama. I don't know where LSU is going to go from here. They're 5-4 right now. They obviously need to figure out some things, and I'm not too sure. We still don't know what the LSU head coaching candidates are looking like. I think they're going to wait until the offseason to really start looking for a candidate. But on the other side, Alabama's 8-1. They seem like they've solidified my early on judgment that I had after they lost to FSU. They seem like they got their feet
Yeah.
under them. They're 8-0 since. They're
And I told you that Alabama fans had nothing to worry about.
Mhm.
That Kalen DeBoer is a known winner. He's proven winner. He knows how to get the most out of his team. He's in a spot now where he has oodles more resources and talent than he did at Washington, and he was going to be just fine. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people out there saying, "Well, it's not Kalen DeBoer winning the games. It's Ty Simpson. He's the one stepping up." Well, yeah, but Ty Simpson's got to be coached by somebody. And oh,
Yeah.
by the by, it's the guy that Kalen brought with him from UW. So it's not as if Kalen's got no influence as to what's happening on this roster, has no influence on what's going on the field. These
Yep.
players believe in him, they're playing for him, and they're showing it. They're
Yeah.
absolutely balling out for him.
And the one thing that I remember me being critical of on them when they lost to FSU was their defense. Their defense looked undisciplined, and they were on the opposite side of what happened to LSU, where they were getting a lot of the flags. They were getting a lot of like the missed coverages, like the wide open receivers. That kind of stuff happened to that Alabama in their loss. Since then, they've looked like they really solidified their defense, and their defense is doing really good for them. Being able to hold LSU to 9 points, whatever you want to say about their offensive line, but at the end of the day, it's still a good feat to be able to hold a team without a touchdown at that point. It's their defense is impressive, and it goes to show they're ranked number 4 right now in the college football playoff rankings, and we should transition a little bit into that because we're in the second week of releasing the playoff rankings, and to me there's some surprises as far as where teams are landing. I'm not necessarily too surprised about where teams are necessarily. So
Yeah.
going through the list right now, we have Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2, Texas A&M 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, Notre Dame, and Texas rounds out the top 10. Oklahoma and BYU are 11 and 12. There on your side? Is there any teams that you feel are being under or overappreciated or not being given enough respect as far as where their ranking sits right now?
The only thing I would do is flip-flop Texas A&M and Indiana. Texas A&M was playing, to me, like the second best team in the nation. When for years, there was all this talk about maybe there's a curse in College Station. Maybe they just can't get over the hump. No one is playing like Texas A&M is. They are beating you on all three sides of the ball. They can beat you on offense, defense, special teams. This team is a complete team. And given and look, I know Indiana came back, beat Penn State. That great, just contorted body catch
Yeah.
from Omar Cooper Jr. in the end zone with less than a minute left. I
Yep.
get that happened, and Fernando Mendoza, like the old adage, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I
Hmm.
understand that, but to me, if I'm the committee, I'm putting A&M number 2.
Wow.
A&M absolutely deserves to be number 2. And I don't know if it's just because they're justifying Indiana being behind Ohio State because of the common opponents where Indiana obliterated Illinois and Ohio State only beat them by 2 or 3 touchdowns, which I'm like, okay, if you beat them by 3 touchdowns, and that's pretty
That's
sound.
that's a
But
pretty that's a blowout.
yeah, I mean, look, we can all look at the box score and say, oh, okay, that wasn't even close.
Yeah.
But it's but to me, Texas A&M needs to be number 2. Um,
How do you feel
there's
about
gonna be a lot
Georgia
of shifts in these playoff rankings, though.
How do you feel about Georgia at 5? That one just seems a little weird to me.
Georgia scares me in the secondary. All it's
Hmm.
going to take is Georgia to be able uh, to to face a team that has an old school air raid, and I think Georgia's toast. I think Georgia loses that football game. They have a great run defense. But that's secondary, and they can't. They're not that adept at pass rushing either. So it's almost as if if they stop the run game, well, then the opponent's going to have to resort to passing the football.
Hmm.
And if I'm a Georgia opponent, I'm throwing the football 7 times out of 10, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm taking advantage of that disparity right there. And I don't have a problem with Georgia being number 5. I think they're fully justified being a number 5 team in the rankings. I'm just like, well, I don't know when the other shoe's going to fall.
Yeah.
And you know,
It seems like Georgia's just lost a lot. I don't know if it's just respect or that nobody's afraid of them, but it definitely feels like the last 2 or 3 years, especially this year, they're like not as intimidating of a team as they used to be back when they were projected to be in the national championship every single year. Something about Georgia is just a little bit off, and I can't put my finger on what exactly it is. Them being fifth, just looking at it, seeing the type of team that they have been, the team that they are now, it almost feels like they're underranked, like they should be higher. But if you look at the 4 teams above them, I struggle to see who you would flip them for. That's the problem that I have with Georgia right now. They should.
I would,
I feel like they
yeah,
should be better.
I wouldn't flip them with anyone because
Yeah.
they lost the head to head to Alabama.
Yep.
If everything plays according to plan, then Alabama, if Alabama and A&M win out, they're playing each other for the SEC championship.
Right.
Um, and but of course, you've got big games this week. You got Alabama playing Oklahoma, who's
Yep.
number 11.
Yep.
If Oklahoma loses that game, they're out of the ranking. If Alabama loses, they both stay in. Alabama goes down, and then Oklahoma comes up.
Yeah.
Which, if Alabama does lose, then that gives Georgia the edge in conference play. But
Hmm.
they also have to play Texas this weekend. And Texas, I mean, Arch Manning seems to have figured it out. Steve Sarkisian, I've never doubted. Steve Sarkisian knows how to get the best out of his players. He is a quarterback whisperer. It seems he's been able to calm Arch Manning down. And despite all the trash talk against Arch Manning, when it's mattered most, Arch Manning has come through. And it's it's not as if, it's just, you know, um, just coming out of thin air. He has absolutely developed a great rapport with Ryan Wingo,
Hmm.
and him and Wingo have been just absolute monsters the last month of the season.
Yeah.
And so you have Georgia playing Texas, you have um, you have Alabama playing Oklahoma, uh, you have um, I'm going through the slate now. Um, And then I do want to talk about BYU
Yeah.
and that Texas Tech game. BYU, I'm a little surprised they're still in. This was uh their first rodeo against a stout defense, and BYU showed they had no answer for it whatsoever. And so BYU being number 12, which moves everyone up one step in the rung there, um, it absolutely helps. But you have uh, Oklahoma going to Tuscaloosa. You have Texas going to Athens, and then some games with some implication with some ranking implications here. I don't know if this South Carolina game against A&M is going to be a trap game for them. I'm going to guess not,
No.
because the next week, what is this? Uh, Sam Houston State, um, or Samford. They're playing Samford, so it's not really a trap game. The only game left on A&M's schedule that's going to be a problem before the SEC championship is they go to Texas and they end
Mhm.
the season against the Longhorns, and that's going to be their last big uh, hurdle. So hopefully, the football gods look well on them and decide, oh well, there's not really a trap game for them at all. So, um, as far as the rest of the top 25, um,
Before you go into the overall top 25, there's okay. So college, the playoff is made up of the top 12 teams, despite the highest ranked non big, what do they call it, the not big four top
the
ranked,
five.
yeah, group of five ranking. Uh, there's one team on here that right now would miss out, and that's Vanderbilt. They're ranked 14th right now. I
Yeah.
feel like they should be at least right outside looking in, if not at replacing BYU as the number 12 team. I know they have an extra loss over them, but the way that Vanderbilt has been playing, I feel like they should be getting a little bit more respect as far as overall ranking, and obviously how the cookie crumbles by the end of the season could depend on who is the group of five that makes, or even if they could make it as just overall ranked. But I just feel like where they are right now doesn't give that team justice as far as quality of the overall how they are playing.
Well, they started out real hot, right? They started out 5-0. They
Mm-hmm.
lose to Alabama. They're 3-2 in their last 5 games. You can sit there and say, "Oh, well, they beat Auburn at home. That was in overtime, and it shouldn't have been that close." But again, that was one of those games where Auburn has an interim head coach. DJ Durkin was throwing everything at them, and Vandy was able to squeak out the win. But the week prior, that was a game where Texas found a way to beat Vandy at home. And like I said, 3-2 in your last five. And I know they beat Mizzou 17-10, and Missouri was one of the hot teams before they kind of fell off. They beat LSU, who hasn't, and Alabama absolutely obliterated Vanderbilt. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And when you start 5-0, you got this great Cinderella field. You got Diego Pavia. He's America's gentleman, and he's going out there pimping out his mom, the Theo Vaughn, and but then you go to Tuscaloosa, and that kind of starts this 3-2. It's this narrative of, does Vanderbilt have it? And if you look at the rest of their schedule, um, they play they play at home this weekend against Kentucky, and then
Yeah.
they end the season in Tennessee, which is not a gimme. I mean, Joey
No, it's
Aguilar
not.
is a dark horse to win the Heisman this year. He's arguably the best quarterback in college football this season. And when you're going to Rocky Top and you have to end your season that way against a Josh Heupel led team that is really trying to put a stamp on on a marvelous season, you got to. I mean, look, Tennessee won't make the college football playoff, but you got to believe that Josh Heupel is going to get this team ready to finish the season in the top 20. Like
Sure.
he is aiming to be top 20, and uh, and they play New Mexico State. They go to Gainesville to play Florida the week after, and then they end the season, of course, at home against Vandy. So this, like, when you talk about Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's not really a team that I'm looking at saying, oh well, watch out, watch out if you play Vandy. I'm not saying that they won't be
No, of
tricky.
course
They
not.
have ways to win, but
Yeah.
if you're going to go off of just total strength about what you see, this is a team that hinges on the success or the fail or the shortcomings of Diego Pavia.
Mhm.
And which is why I think also, I know Clark Lee's name's being bandied around a bit in the college football head coaching carousel.
Yep.
If if I'm a college football team, I want to see more from Clark Lee post Diego Pavia. I want to see what he can do with a different quarterback. I want to see if, and unless you know that your team has a quarterback that's on the level of Diego Pavia, of course, bring him in. Let's see, what levels he can bring your team to. But as far as the top 25 go, I don't really have an issue with
You don't have an issue with them being 14th over BYU at 12?
ask that question again.
Do you not have an issue with them being like 14th while BYU sits there at 12? There's Utah in between them. So obviously they would have to be considered better ranking than Utah. But
Yeah.
that little like bubble of 12, 13, 14 almost looks like a little of the rankings where you could really flip those teams in whatever order, and you couldn't. I don't think you could be wrong if you would put like Vanderbilt 12 and Utah 13, or BYU 13 and Utah 14.
Mhm.
So I understand that they had their quality wins aren't there, and like you just mentioned, like
Yeah.
when they played Alabama, they didn't necessarily have the best showing, but they've still overall they've I would consider they've held their own for the most part. And something about
When you have to consider the losses, um,
that
uh,
Vanderbilt has.
that no, that Utah had.
Oh yeah.
They lost to BYU and they lost to Texas Tech.
Hmm.
So these are, I mean, to me, these are uh these
Quality
might be,
losses.
and look, and I know it's they both have two losses, but if you're looking at, the strength of the losses, Vanderbilt lost Alabama, of course,
Yep.
and then they lost to Texas. You can make the argument that maybe Vanderbilt should be ahead of Utah, but I think there's something there just about the last 5 weeks. The last five
Yeah.
weeks of Vanderbilt, they are 3-2. They started out 5-0. They are 3-2 in their last 5 games. I think that absolutely plays a part in it. I know in the NFL, all that matters is wins and losses. In college football, it's
No,
style.
not yeah.
And so if your style of play over the course of a last, handful of games is showing just over 500 football, you know, thank your lucky stars
That
that
you're
you're 14 right now, that you're just outside of it. And like I said, look, if Oklahoma loses and Vanderbilt wins out, Vanderbilt could very well find themselves in the number 12 slot. They could slide right in there. And
of course they have to
I
take
mean,
on Tennessee and
I
probably
wouldn't
can't
be
lose another game.
surprised. But again, Vanderbilt has a date with Josh Heupel
Yep.
and Rocky Top at the end of the season, and that's not going to be a gimme.
No, of course not. They're definitely not. Obviously, ev- all of for some reason Iowa has, with 6-3, they're ranked in the top 25. But every other team, Tennessee is 6-3. Most of the teams in the top 25, you could argue, make sense that most of them have two losses. If Vanderbilt gets the third loss, I don't think they can hold on into being in the top 25, possibly, just because that would put them at 3-3, 4-3, somewhere that that just wouldn't look good for them. So I do think if Vanderbilt wants to have a chance, they can't afford to take any single another loss going into the
No, they can't.
last couple
No,
games of their season.
no, they can't. No. Now, as far as uh, I know a lot of people are saying, "Where's the group of five teams?" It's required. No, it's not required that a group of five team makes the college football playoff. If it was required, then a group of five team would be ranked number 12 right now. But it's not required. Everyone calm down. I know I know we want to see parity within college football, but this is why if we're going to do it this way, it makes sense to have a group of five championship. Let
Yep.
the group of five duke it out. Let them be able to have their own day in the sun, their own uh, moonlit dance,
The
if they so
little
please. And
conference championship matchup, like a Final Four kind of look thing or
mhm,
something like that.
yeah, so but if you ask me, yeah, I mean, the the best team to be able to make it from the group of five is South Florida. A lot's going to have to happen
Yeah.
between now and the last 3 weeks of the season. A lot is going to have to take place. I and look, this college football season is a lot like the NFL. It this year it's weird, but unlike the NFL, it's exciting.
Hmm.
NFL football has been very boring this year. It's been
You
shocking.
always say it's boring. You say
I
every
no, but like, I mean it this time. And college football is exciting. It's exciting when these upsets happen because you don't expect it. The NFL, there's more parity, no matter how much people like to say it's ranked 1 through 32. No, there's
Mhm.
parity. That's why the Browns can beat the Packers on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So, but in college football, it's different. It's a different environment. It's, this is, like I said, all about style. This is about how how you win. It's not
Yeah.
about just winning, it's about how you win. And, I know we're at the tail end of the season, and I already said it. I think how Indiana beat Penn State, I would argue that Texas A&M deserved to jump them
Be better.
just
Yeah.
because of. And look, I get, who is it, Terry Smith? Is he the interim for Penn State? I know he was playing for the full time tag, but and like I said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I tell my
Hmm.
kids all the time. But in college football, that kind of does matter. It
Yeah.
does matter
It does.
because at the end of the day, uh, we want to be able to reward the teams who show they are the most complete team.
Yeah.
And
And you also have to take into consideration in college football, there's like a whole committee that takes everything into consideration, including you just watching the games and seeing how those teams are actually playing
yeah,
compared to the NFL, where it really comes down to records and statistics. And there's a whole like 20-step process of who's going to be ranked where to where they're like it takes out the human consideration from who makes the playoffs, which is a perfect transition into us starting to talk about the playoffs for the NFL because the NFL playoff picture is kind of starting to shape itself. Some teams have definitely fallen off of the playoff picture. Some teams are sitting in the bubble of they can still turn it around and get themselves in a position to sneak into the playoffs. Other teams are waiting for something to fall off and them to sneak into the playoffs. And obviously, we have division leaders that are trying to cement themselves as the division leaders. So let's talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs, where the standings are right now, and we'll focus on where the wild card teams are sitting right now because we talked about the division leaders last week for a bit. We talked about the division leaders a little bit. So let's talk about the wild card teams this week and just see where these teams are. The question that we wanted to go over as we talk about the NFL playoff picture is for the teams that are sitting in the wild card right now, what do those teams need to do to solidify themselves to make the playoffs? Like, what do they need to do to make sure they don't fall out of that wild card spot? Or what do they need to do to move into like the
yeah,
division lead? But at the same
yeah,
time, there's the bubble teams, three from
yeah,
each side that could easily sneak in and
yeah,
take that position from those wild card teams right now.
yeah.
So let's go over.
Well, hold on, but before you go any further, I want to clarify a statement that I made before I get blown up. When I said a group of five team, was not guaranteed a spot in a college football playoff. I meant it's not guaranteed to be ranked there in
Yeah,
the middle of the season.
right.
Now, it'll be the
The
five.
highest ranked big group of 5 champion, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it'll be the high the 5 conference champions will make it. It'll be the highest of the group of 5 that make it. So I don't want anyone blowing me up saying that, oh, JB's wrong. He's just stand up.
Yeah, no, what the hell he's talking about?
No, they're not guaranteed to be ranked in the top 12 in the rankings.
Yeah, they're not
Again,
guaranteed anything right now.
it is purely uh just whatever.
Yeah,
Right now we are focused on the best teams in college football. If South Florida happens to be the best group of 5 team to win their championship, which they're on track to do, then okay, great. They will make it. So everyone just calm down.
yeah.
Just blow me up on TikTok if you somehow make it this far in the episode. And before I even explain myself,
Yeah, I was gonna say people are gonna hear that part and they're gonna turn off the episode and they're never gonna hear your explanation. But yeah, you are right. As of right now, like it's not a Ohio State is for sure going to play BYU as a 1v12. Like the rankings right now is there's not really a true definition of where these teams will play each other. It's just rankings for the playoffs, but there's not. It doesn't say anything about what the bracket's actually going to look like. It's more of a ranking if the playoffs were to start. That's definitely something that we need to make sure we clear up because I'm still getting used to the whole 12-team ranking, but
yeah,
not
do
the
I think
playoff
it's
bracket
stupid?
thing.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's retarded.
Yeah.
But this is when you let retards win the asylum. You know, retard things happen.
Yeah. But now that your disclaimer has been set, let's jump into the NFL and talk about these bubble teams on the
Yeah.
inside and on the outside. Let's start with the AFC. Right now we have the Chargers, the Bills, and the Jaguars filling the 3 spots in the wild card. 2 of those teams we could probably both agree they just need to keep doing what they're doing
Yeah.
to kind of make the wild card and not take over the division. That would be, for me, that'd be the Chargers and the Bills. The 7th seed is always like the up for grabs. Anybody can steal that spot. For you to feel comfortable about the Jaguars solidifying themselves as a playoff team, what would they have to do?
For the Jaguars,
Yeah, we'll
make
start
the
at the
change at
7th
quarterback.
You had just told me last week you thought Trevor Lawrence possibly had figured some things out, and now you're telling me they need to switch quarterbacks?
Yeah, and then I saw him play the Houston Texans, and then I'm like, nope, he's got nothing figured out. And
Oh,
I tell you, Liam Cohen's not happy, and he's going to start saying Duval again as a sexual slander if things don't change real quick. This is, and look, it's the NFL is not an easy sport to play. There's a reason why there's only 32 of these positions available in the world to be starting quarterback of an NFL franchise. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence doesn't have talent, but he doesn't have the it factor to get Jacksonville over the hill. And when you look at just the rest of the standings, Kansas City is breathing down their neck. And I know Jacksonville's got a negative 15 in the point differential column. That defense has kind of fallen off a little bit, but the offense doesn't score enough points.
no.
And now Travis Hunter's out. We're not going to be able to see what he can do over the course of a season, even on one side of the ball. Jacksonville needs to hold on tight.
Yeah, they need to find a way to steal some games. What they did with the Texans kind of shows you the type of team they are. What was the biggest lead they had? Wasn't it like 25-9 against a backup quarterback Texans led offense? I think it was 25-9, and they somehow found a way to lose that game. And you
Yeah,
could
no,
barely,
they scored what, 16 unanswered or something like
yeah,
that,
it was ridiculous.
or
Out of
20
again,
unanswered, 26
let
unanswered. It was
me
something crazy.
let me reiterate against a backup quarterback that the Texans
Yeah.
had playing right now.
Hey. Davis Mills is a human being and he has
Yes, he
feelings.
is.
And
He is also a backup quarterback.
look, I'm not the one to advocate for feelings much. That's your gig.
Yeah.
But come on, he's a human being. Okay. And
I mean,
maybe
if he was good enough to be a starter, he would be the starter for the Jaguars. At the very minimum, he would be the starter for the Jaguars. But once again, we found ourselves in a position where all the Jaguars had to do was control the game and not find a way to lose the game. And very quickly, we saw that Trevor Lawrence was once again the reason they lost another game, which is why I continue. I don't know what has happened with us talking about the Jaguars so much and Trevor Lawrence so much, but I continue to iterate. I have zero trust in what Trevor Lawrence does for the Jaguars offense. He consistently finds a way to lose games for that team. When you have a 20 plus point lead against a division opponent, you don't make risky plays. You don't make ridiculous plays, or you don't try winning a game in one play. You control the ball and you drain the clock. And for some reason, they just completely forgot how to do that. Again, I don't have any trust in the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence being at the helm. So there's a lot that needs to be figured out on the offensive side for me to say, yeah, the Jaguars are in a good place to make the playoffs. Now, let's move on to the other two teams, which are in the wild card right now because of just the division that they're in. The Bills are the 6th seed because the Patriots just don't know how to lose, and the Chargers are in the 5 seed because the Broncos just have such an amazing defense. What do those two teams need to do to make sure that they don't fall out of the playoff picture?
win the games they're supposed to win. When you look at Buffalo getting absolutely slaughtered by Miami, which is just laughable, and maybe it was a slap in the face against Buffalo. The report came out saying they offered 2027 round one for Jalen Waddle,
Yeah.
and they were like, no, they want a 2026. Like, no way. And then that's the end of the conversation. Look, I'm a fan of Brandon Bean. I'm a fan of what he's done. I think he's one of the best GMs in football. But if your goal is to win the Super Bowl and you're worried about trading the 32nd pick in the
Right.
NFL draft, which is basically the top of the second round,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? What are
Yeah.
we
If you
doing?
want to win the Super Bowl, the first round pick
Are
doesn't
you
really
are you preparing to have a top 15 pick?
matter.
Are we preparing to fall off a cliff here? Because I'm looking at their schedule. They're at home against Tampa. They go on the road to play Houston. So right now they're 1-1. I can see them losing to Tampa. They're 1-1. They go to Pittsburgh. That's a win, 2-1. They're at home against Cincy. It's another win, 3-1. Then they go to Foxborough to play New England. Now, if Buffalo is 3 and so if they're 9-4
Yeah.
by the time they get to um Foxborough, and the Patriots, well, they won't lose, so they'll be 12-2. Uh probably. We'll look at their schedule here in a bit. Actually, let's look at the Patriots schedule right now. Let's look
Yeah,
at it.
let me pull that open real quick. What are the let's take this moment to look at their schedules and see what are the actual chances that Buffalo can take that division.
Yeah, New England will be 11-2 by the time they play. They play the Jets, the Bengals, and the Giants. Okay, so that's done. All right. That was a
Yeah.
fun experiment.
That was
Okay.
easy.
Yeah, that was fun. Okay, so let's say Buffalo is still 2 games out by the time they get to Foxborough. Let's say they do end up beating the Patriots. They only lost by a field goal the last time.
Yep.
And that was in Buffalo. Let's say they end up winning that game and then they end that game out. Let's look at the Patriots' remaining schedule after that game. The Patriots would then play Baltimore, which could be a tricky game. Baltimore
Mhm.
could be already in the division lead for the AFC North by that point and have
Yep.
everything to play for, because if they don't win a division, they will not make the playoffs. They play the Jets, so that's a win, and they play the Dolphins. You never know what you're going to get with the Dolphins. So that's 2-1. Okay, so that puts New England what, 3, 5-2. That puts them at 13-2. Now let's go back to Buffalo. They play the Browns, the Eagles, and the Jets. That could easily be 2-1. That could be 3-0.
Yeah, they could
I
be.
mean,
Or they could,
Eagles
yeah.
Bills week 17. That's my Super Bowl preview. So I don't think Buffalo wins this division.
Yeah, it's not looking very
I
likely.
think it's too late.
Yeah, well, them losing to Miami kind of was one of like the second to last nail for that division. They
Yeah, it
should
was.
have
Yeah.
beat Miami. They needed to
Yeah.
beat Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're just playing for a wild card team. So they just need a win out, or at
Yeah.
least just lose one more game, maybe one more game. 2 is pushing it just because of how the AFC is playing out. They can only lose one game truly to stay in the playoff picture. And Buffalo's not in a position to be able to say that we'll make the wild card and we're good. You don't want to have that extra game as a wild card and not have a game at home. Buffalo is made to host home game playoff games because they have such a strong advantage on them. So it's just a weird position for them. Now the Chargers are a stumper because that division is a stumper. The Broncos just won a game with scoring no touchdowns. Did they score a touch? They scored one touchdown last week, right?
Who, the Broncos?
Yeah.
Yeah, they beat the Raiders 10-7.
Yeah.
Come on.
So that's my issue. The Broncos are the number 2 seed right now at 8-2, and if you really look at how they've played, besides the fact that they have such a miraculous defense, the Chargers are just in like the crappy end of the stick of that division because the Chiefs are breathing down their neck, and we can talk about the Chiefs and what they need to do to take one of those 2 or 3 spots. But the Chargers really should be in that division leaders. The Broncos just for some reason they just find a way to win a game that they have no business winning, and they should be doing better than
Broncos
what.
team reminds me of the 2009-2010 Saints team, where the Saints just won these games. Just like how did you win that game? Like I remember a game against the Redskins where the Redskins had the ball and it was a running play. I forgot who it was. They just took the ball from his hands, went for the touchdown, and won the game. Like never happens. Never happens.
No.
And this
Yeah,
Broncos team gives me that same tingling feeling.
This is giving me the same kind of feeling. They're a number 2 seed, which is more crazy. But remember when the Vikings, they were still being led by Kirk Cousins at the time, where they kept winning these one-score games. They won 10 straight one-score games, and they showed up in the playoffs, and the Daniel Jones-led New York Giants beat them in the playoffs. That is what the Broncos are giving this year, where they win close games, but when push comes to shove, like something about whoever they match up against is just going to upset them when they have no business losing a game as a number 2 seed.
Yeah.
That is giving me the feelings of. Now we have the Chiefs, the Texans, and the Ravens on the outside looking in. Chiefs 5-4, Texans 4-5, and Ravens 4-5. We've talked a lot about the Ravens. The Texans really just have to win the division. I think. I don't know what possible. I don't even know
Ravens?
they have. No, the Texans. I don't even think they truly have a chance.
Texans won't win the division.
They're not going to win the division. I don't even think they can sneak into the 7th seed because the Chiefs are ahead of them. So let's talk about the Chiefs and what they need to do to take one of those 3 spots.
The Chiefs just need to win, man. They just need to win. And it's not as if we haven't seen this team just go on a ridiculous streak and shock the entire NFL world with how Patrick Mahomes just wins football games.
Yeah.
But you look at, so they're in Denver this weekend.
Yep.
That'll be a key game.
Yep.
Then they're at home against Indianapolis. That'll be a key game too.
Another key game.
Those are 2 games in a row where the Chiefs could conceivably lose both.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a betting man, I'd say they beat Denver this weekend in Denver. They have a history of winning 1-1 in each other's stadium. I think they very much lose to Indianapolis. They go to Dallas. Who knows who Dallas is?
Yep.
They host the Texans. They host the Chargers. They go to Tennessee. They're at home against Denver, and then they go to Vegas. This is a schedule easily where they could go was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They could easily go 5-3 if and which is an odd thing to say. The Chiefs being 10-7
Yeah.
at the end of the season. That's not a normal thing to say within the last 5 years. But it is possible.
I mean,
It
it
is.
really comes down to what they do these next 2 weeks. Because if they drop one or two of those games, if for some reason they lose
Yeah.
both of those games, that division is done. That's out of grasp for
Yeah.
them. They'll be hoping for
Yeah.
a wild card. Because after that,
Yeah.
their schedule is pretty easy. Like the Cowboys, I'm not convinced that the Cowboys necessarily fix their issues that they have. The Texans, we already know how the Texans are. Like they play a pretty softball end of their schedule, but I just don't know if they have enough wiggle room if they lose one of those next two games to be able to make up any of that gap, especially if they lose to the Broncos. That is one that they have to lock up because the next, if you happen to tie with the Broncos going into the end of the season, the next ranking is your division record, and if you lose to the Broncos, that's not going to give you a
Yeah.
good fighting chance.
Well, and looking at Jacksonville's schedule, I could see them easily going 4-4,
Mm-hmm.
and then just losing out based on record
Yeah, 9-8.
and being 9-8,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And that's it for their season. Now, Baltimore's going to make it because they're going to win the AFC North. It will happen. Pittsburgh, after what Aaron Rodgers and Steel Company showed me against the Chargers,
Yeah.
they made that Chargers defense look vaunted. Like it was the best defense on the planet. And I mean, look, it's middle of the pack. It's not, I mean, I wouldn't sit there and say, oh, wait, it's the 2000 Ravens. No, it's the Chargers. Okay.
Yeah.
You shouldn't lose 25-10 to the Chargers. But Baltimore will make it because they will win the AFC North. And I think Kansas City sneaks in as the 7th seed.
So which team you're adding two? Oh, so you're just saying the Steelers will fall out and
Pittsburgh won't make it.
Okay.
Jacksonville won't make it.
Well, those are the two teams that fall
Baltimore
out.
will make it because they win the AFC North. Kansas City will make it because of just overall record
Overall record
against
for the Rams.
Jacksonville.
That's fair. Okay, so let's very quickly go over the NFC because we have the Rams, the Bears, and the Packers. The Packers are the 7th seed right now
Yeah.
after losing to the Eagles. They have three. The NFC North has 3 teams in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
What chance do you give those 3 teams of staying in the playoffs?
The least chance I give out of those 3 teams are the Bears. There's nothing about this defense that screams to me that they're going to save Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, yes, he had a great end to that Giants game.
Yeah.
But the mere fact that it had to get to the very end for them to beat the Giants does not elicit a lot of hope for me. It doesn't. And
the last
and
true
then-
quality team that they played was the Ravens, and they lost 30-16.
yeah,
They've beat the Giants, the Bengals, which are overall just a mess, especially they're injured and they have no quarterback. They've lost to the Saints and they lost
No, they beat
lost
the
to
Saints.
Washington.
they beat
I mean,
the
sorry,
Saints,
yeah, they beat the Saints, which is
just
not
like everyone else.
yeah, that was my point. And they beat the Washington Commanders, which is another team that just
Yeah.
they have the injury plague like any other team gets to have the injury plague at some point in like a 5-year span. So the only true test that they've had of like playoff football or a team that could be a representative of playoff football is the Ravens, and they lost 16-30. So yeah, I think you are right. I don't think the Bears have necessarily shown that they can keep up with any of the teams that are in the playoffs in the NFC. If I gave you the division leaders, because the Bears would have to play one of the division leaders. They have right now the Eagles, the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Buccaneers. Do you think the Bears could beat any of those teams?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That leaves it easily answered.
Well, the
So
Bears
on the
will play
outside
Seahawks.
looking,
You said
What's
the Bears
that?
play the Seahawks?
No, I'm saying if I gave you the matchup of the Bears
Oh,
against
okay,
all
yeah.
the division
No,
leaders.
no, they
Yeah.
don't. No, not at all. No, they do play. They go to Minneapolis. That's a toss up.
Yep.
They're at home against Pittsburgh. Toss up. They go to Philly. They're going to lose that game. They go to
Yep.
Green Bay. Green Bay's not going to lose that game at home.
Yeah, no, they don't.
They
They
play
hate
the
losing to the
Browns at
Bears.
home. The Browns beat the Packers, so maybe. Then the Packers go to Soldier Field. The Bears go to Santa Clara to play the Niners, which the Niners, I don't trust this team. I don't know how they have 6 wins. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then they end the season at home against the Lions. They'll lose that game. Um,
So
yeah,
you just hinted at that team. So let's talk a little bit about that team. The 49ers are on the outside looking in at 6-4. They're third in the NFC West. Do they have a pretty good chance of making the playoffs, right? You had picked them early on as your prediction to make the conference finals, right?
I did.
How
Yeah,
how's it looking for you?
not good. I don't trust this defense at all. I don't trust it. Their key guys are hurt. They're struggling to make plays on the defensive side of the ball. Uh, I know George Kittle's back now. I know he's getting healthier,
Yep.
but Jawan Jennings seems to be the only target that they actually like. Um, they overutilize Christian McCaffrey. I mean,
They
when the run
overutilize
games,
him, but not properly. Like he hasn't even been involved in the pass game too much. They're just using him as a regular running back, which is not how
yeah,
you should be using him.
yeah, and honestly, like if I'm, um, I mean, he leads the team in receiving yards. So, but it doesn't, it doesn't feel like an old school like Christian McCaffrey led offense to me.
No, it's not. I
There's
think
something
that's
off about it
I
where
think the statistics are just him making plays, not necessarily because they give him the ball as a receiving running back. I think that's where the
yeah,
statistic is kind of being skewed. But
yeah,
I think you're right. There's something about that defense that just doesn't look right. There's something about the offense that doesn't look right. There's overall, I think they're lucky that they're in the position that they are, considering uh, Brock Purdy has been out for what is it now, 4 weeks, and they don't seem like they have a timeline of when he's actually
yeah,
coming back. And they're just banking on Mac Jones continuing to go 500 in his time as a starter for them.
yeah. Since they started out 5-2, they are 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems this downward trend with the defense is catching up to them. You give up 26 points to the Texans, you lose that game. You give up 24 to the Giants, you win. And of course, you gave up 42 to the Rams
Yeah,
when earlier in the season you beat them 26-23. So,
that's like
um,
such an uncommon score for an NFC West matchup. A 42-point outing from one of those teams. Usually, you're used
yeah,
to like 20s at best. You did
yeah.
say the Bears fall out of the playoff picture. Who takes their place?
I don't trust Carolina at
No,
all.
the
I don't
Vikings
trust
at 4 and
Minnesota.
5. I guess by default it'd have to be the Niners, right?
I mean, it would have to be. And I would, I would by virtue pick San Francisco to make it over Chicago based purely on the coaching staff and uh because it's not as if the Bears don't have weapons.
Yeah,
I it's just it and look, this Bears defense is worse than San Francisco's defense. And which is an odd thing to say. The Bears are known for defense and cheesesteaks. So or ribeyes, whatever.
pizza.
Um but if I had to pick right now, I'd say Chicago falls off and San Francisco gets in as the 7th seed.
I think the best thing that they have going for them for San Francisco is their schedule. They have the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans, the Colts, the Bears again, and then Seattle. which at that point the division will probably be out of reach either way.
Yeah, the Niners could easily go 4-0 over their next 4 games.
Yeah, exactly. And then they just,
Arizona, Carolina, Cleveland, Tennessee, just like you said.
yep.
And then they have that head-to-head in Week 17 against Chicago.
Hmm.
So that
That could be for
prove
the 7th seed.
that honestly could be the game for the 7th seed. Absolutely, that
And
could
then they
be it.
won't play anybody for the Seattle for the last game
Yeah,
of the year against Seattle. I think that is, like I said when we were starting the segment, the playoff picture has kind of built itself. Teams have fallen off. Teams are kind of lingering in the bubble, but it's really not as competitive as you would think if you look at where teams are. If anything, the AFC is a little bit more wide open. The NFC is pretty much beside one team kind of falling out. It's you can kind of see where this is gonna play out. Maybe in the playoff picture, like teams 1, 2, 3, and 4, like flip flop, but the teams are there. The teams have established themselves as who is gonna
yeah,
make the playoffs. There's always a surprise with the 7th seed. I'm curious if that's gonna happen in the NFC. I'm not too sure where that would happen. I'm not seeing anybody on the outside looking in that could kind of take those spots beside the 49ers. So it really is like the teams are established. It's just about rankings at this point, and it's crazy to say when there's 3, 6, 7, 8 games still left overall in the season.
yeah,
But the NFC it is what it is at this point.
yeah.
We'll have
And
to
I
see
mean, like,
what.
and I'll say this: like this NFL season, it seems. I know we just gave a breakdown of where we see it ending and where we see these teams landing, but anything could happen. You see Tampa, they are, um, you know, Tampa's a game and a half ahead of Carolina,
Yeah.
and which is just absolutely crazy. Do I think Tampa loses the grip on the NFC South? No, I don't. Not so much that Carolina is going to overtake them. I don't see it. Carolina's a fun team. I think it's heartwarming. It's nice. They're 5-5. People are giving Bryce Young and his oversized backpack some love, and being able to sit there and say, "Oh, look, he can do it." The little Bama quarterback that could, he can do it. But it's I, a lot of people are saying that it's wide open. I think it's wide open within the divisions than
Yeah.
it is within the actual playoff picture. I think everyone you see currently, either in the division lead or in the wild card, they're going to make it for the most part.
Hmm.
Outside of the Bears flipping with San Francisco, or Baltimore and Kansas City flipping with Pittsburgh and Jacksonville.
Yep.
I think everyone you see right now in that playoff picture or a game behind, yeah, they're gonna. I mean, but I think in the divisions, it might look a little different.
Hmm.
Um, but
Those teams
even
are
then,
really
I don't,
like they
I don't
might
see
flop.
much of a change. The
No,
only, the only change in division that I see happening is the AFC North with Baltimore overtaking Pittsburgh. That's
yeah,
the only change I see.
that's right.
Maybe the Rams figure it out and overtake Seattle, but Seattle is just, you know, their offense is high powered. Their defense is one to boot. Um, I'm, I'm just, it's very slim margins here for me to
Hmm.
sit there and say, oh, well, yeah, this is absolutely going to be, the Rams will overtake Seattle. I just don't see it right now. I just
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, it's hard, and I think they have one more game against each other, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But on that note, we promise everybody next episode we will talk NBA as the NBA starts kicking into full gear, and we will talk all about our predictions or expectations for the NBA season. But on this episode, we're done. JB, what were you sipping? What were you smoking?
I was sipping this Larceny Barrel Proof,
Nice,
125 proof. It's very good. And I was smoking a McAuliffe Torpedo, the Torcaderas. It's very reliable. What were you
nice.
sipping on?
So I actually changed it up a little bit. I am drinking a Chateau Michel. I don't know if it'll focus with the
There you go. I can
lighting.
see it. Nice.
Some wine. I was sipping on some wine today. It's been it's been the drink of choice in this household lately. So I was enjoying a little glass of that, and obviously I was always smoking the same thing I always smoke. So we're done. JB, tell everybody where they can find us, where they contribute, where they can hear and or listen.
You can find full-length episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon, Box Scores and Bourbon. Additional content at BSB Sports 24 on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Contribute on TikTok and Instagram and X. Comment, uh, retweet, I do all the things. I love interacting with you guys. I'm not afraid to take fire arrows like I will, because my group of 5 comment will be taken out of context and everyone's going to blow up, because I get it. Words matter. And I'm almost certain I said it wrong the first time, which is why I clarified my statement. But still, for those of you who only listen to a half hour because you're incredibly busy or you're just terribly bored by the podcast, please take the additional 5 minutes to comment on TikTok so that I can come back and say, actually, go to minute 35:26, where I can show you that, hey, I did clarify my statement in case I came off unclear. And on that note, folks, stay thirsty.
Cheers, everyone. Once again, cheers to everyone but Jerry Jones.